Hey guys, this is a slightly older video I recorded of an installation of Ubuntu Server 18.04, the long-term support version. We now have Ubuntu Server 20.04, so this is a bit dated, but I still wanted to get this video out there. So today I'm just recording the audio for this and going through everything that I recorded here, the whole process. So I'm going to point out the options I chose and so on. So choosing English here because that's the language I prefer. Just click done. And here I just went ahead with the default. It detected my network and everything. Skip the proxy. Choose this default mirror. Entire disk. It's a VirtualBox disk. And yep, confirm destructive action because I'm just running this on a VirtualBox VM, so it doesn't matter. Setting my username to something not too incredibly creative here. Same thing with the server name, Ubuntu Server Test 1. And I'm setting the username to almost the same thing, but a valid username, simple password. And hopefully someone finds this video still useful. All right, install OpenSSH. That one's pretty important being that it's a server. And you can see there are a ton of options here. And you could install these by default if you wanted to, or you could install them after the fact. If you know you're going to need one of these, you might want to go right ahead and install it. But this is all the stuff, a lot of the stuff that comes bundled with it. So you have a lot of nice options. It comes with like Docker. It even comes with Microsoft PowerShell, which is pretty crazy. That's something running PowerShell on Linux, or to me it feels that way anyways. I remember the days when you couldn't even imagine Microsoft working with anything, or even they described it as Linux as something terrible, but now Microsoft loves Linux, or that's what they say anyways. So, despite having newer versions of Ubuntu out as of today, as of the time I'm recording this audio and publishing this video, I still think this is, this is probably something that people might find interesting or might want to follow along with. There could very well be reasons why someone might want to still install this version. Maybe you have software that relies on it. Maybe it's just a requirement. Maybe it's your standard build that your company uses. Whatever the case is, or maybe you don't care. You just want to know how to install Ubuntu Server and you don't care specifically which version it is. But hopefully someone finds this video interesting. One way or another, I did just want to put this one out there. And we'll probably do a demo with a more recent Ubuntu Server version as well. So yeah, it's just running through here. It's basically it's a semi-graphical thing here, but it's basically just tailing the install log. So it's just telling us all the operations it's doing. Installing OpenSSH. I can't see wanting to set up a server without SSH. I can't think of a use case. There probably is one, but if you're going to run generally a server that's, at least in my experience, you're generally almost always going to control a Linux or Unix server with SSH. It's just the default way you would connect under almost any circumstance. So I cut out the rest of that install because it was just it was just sitting there taking it took maybe about another 5 minutes or so of just sitting there with nothing really going on. So I snipped that part of the video out, and here we go. We're rebooting it. So we've installed it. The install is done. Now we are just rebooting the system. All right, so rebooting here, and VM is booting right back up again, and we'll be able to log in just a bit. And there we go. There's our login prompt, but it's still starting things up, even though we could log in now. So our screen gets messed up with all this extra output, which is fine, I guess. So login is our user that we created. our non-root user that should have sudo privileges. And there we go. We are logged in. Prints out a little bit of info about the server, but we can skip past that. And we're just going to poke around and look at the system for a little bit. So uname-a, we can see like our kernel version, the host name and the load factor or not the load factor with that command, but anyways, basic info about the system. Cat etc issue shows us the Ubuntu version 18.04, long-term support. You can see who else is logged into it. It's so I sudoed to a root, said, who am I to show who I am, exit out of root, do psef grep for SSH to make sure SSHD is running. So SSHD is running, which means we should be able to SSH into this instead of using this terrible console that comes with VirtualBox. So before we can SSH in, this is actually on it's on a NATed network. It's a virtual network that VirtualBox set up, so I can't directly connect to that network from my desktop, so I have to create a forwarding rule. So you'll see I created that rule, just forwarded an alternate port to port 22 because SSH is running on port 22, so I forwarded something else to port 22. So now we're opening up a regular Linux terminal, and we're going to SSH to the local host, so 127.0.0.1. First time I ever saw this host, so the fingerprint is new. We'll say yes, and I mistyped it that first time. All right, and no, I'm doing a -p 1212. So that's telling SSH to use the port 1212 on the local host, which, if you remember from that mapping that I set up in VirtualBox, that is that will map out to port 22 on my virtual machine. So port 1212 on my local host will map to port 22 on the virtual machine. So that's how forwarding works with VirtualBox. Kind of glossing over that a little bit, but in any case, let's just run Netstat here. I'm just going to show what services are running, and you'll see we have a few things like DNS on the local host. You'll see port 22 is running, which is pretty much expected. What else? Not a whole lot else going on. There's an established port 22 connection. That's our SSH connection connected in, and you'll see port 22 is also listening on IPv6. So there's that, but that's basically all we're seeing. I think I don't need the A in that netstat command, but the N is for numerical output, and A is for all. We don't need to specify that because we're saying P for port, or for process rather, not for port. P for process. It's going to list out what process is running on each of those, if it can, and it will T for TCP and L for listening. This is going to show all listening ports on TCP. So it won't show UDP stuff. You could also specify that too if you wanted. Any case, that's pretty much it. That's all I demoed in this video. So hopefully you found it useful, or at least a little bit interesting. I'm going to hopefully get a more updated video out pretty soon with Ubuntu 20.04. I know that's a whole year old now, but it's still the current long-term support version. So I'm actually recording this audio in the year 2021 in spring. Basically, it's late May right now. So anyways, I'll be publishing this in with it either today or tomorrow. But and you should expect some more videos like this, but more up to date, and with a lot of other distros. We're gonna do Manjaro. We've already done Arch Linux. I've done a couple videos on that. We're gonna try out a bunch of different OSs, Peppermint OS, Fedora, and a bunch of others. So stay tuned for that stuff. You might want to hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. Any comments or questions, criticism, anything you want to say. We want to know what you think, so do leave a comment down below. And I try to read everyone's comments eventually and get back to people at some point. So definitely do comment down below. And that's it for today. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.